Welcome to a deep dive. Today we're dedicated to navigating some really complex narratives, unpacking source material that shows just how painful and powerful perspective can be in shaping history.
And we've got a unique and I think deeply insightful body of sources today. It's this multifaceted collection blending intense personal observation with major historical flashpoints and some serious philosophical thinking. It's really a study in culture clash at its most extreme.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to extract the key insights about, colonial legacy, cultural misunderstanding, and that brutal struggle for survival and meaning faced by an American missionary family right in the heart of the Congo.
And we're focusing specifically on how that uncompromising environment and the volatile politics impacted this one family, the prices, and the lasting, often catastrophic changes it brought upon them.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the Price family's initial arrival in Kalanga. It's really a masterclass in American excess set against total ignorance. We learned the mother, Orleanna, packed what she truly believes was the absolute bare minimum.
Right, the bare minimum necessary for her family to, quote, survive in the jungle.
Exactly.
And that bare minimum is where the story just immediately turns, well, absurd. It's a whole catalog of everything the West deemed essential back then.
Right.
We're talking boxes of cake mixes.
Cake mixes.
Yeah, a dozen cans of Underwood deviled ham, pain relievers like Anacin, Muscle Rub, Absorbin Jr., fever thermometers. It's almost an indictment, really, of American consumerism just masquerading as necessity.
It really is. And this baggage wasn't just supplies, was it? The source material frames it as her emotional, even physical defense. Because the logistical weight limits were so restrictive, they actually got around them by wearing their supplies. Tools, food, everything tucked under layers of clothes.
So they created this grotesque clanking armor of necessities just to step off the plane.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the father, Nathan Price, ironically, his contribution is the lightest, just the word of God.
Which, as the source notes, fortunately weighs nothing at all.
Right, and that immediately sets up the central conflict, doesn't it? This collision between the tangible weight of Western stuff and the weightlessness of this zealous but totally untried faith he brings.
And the children are carrying their own invisible baggage, too. They arrive just loaded with these deeply ingrained, almost comical preconceptions.
Yeah, the sources show Ruth May, she's the youngest, relaying this Sunday school belief that Africans are the tribes of Ham, cursed to be dark-skinned slaves because Ham laughed at Noah.
It's incredible.
It is. They're basically viewing the Congo through this thick filter of, biblical lore and just outright ignorance. And then you also have those pre-trip warnings, like from Rex Minton.
Oh, yeah.
About cannibal natives who apparently greet you chanting, "Uga, bugga, bugga, luga."
It reduces an entire civilization to a scary nursery rhyme.
Yeah.
It's a narrative straight out of colonialism.
Exactly.
And their daughter, Rachel, she perfectly captures that sensory and cultural shock. Her immediate reaction to the lack of infrastructure. The red dust everywhere, the church made of dirt, no basic amenities. It's just horror for her.
She feels, as she puts it, deeply heavy-hearted for the flush commodes and machine-washed clothes and other simple things in life.
Things she carelessly and very memorably confessed she took for granted.
That phrase, took for granted, it's such a powerful little nugget, isn't it? It shows her worldview is both materialistic and, grammatically flawed.
Right.
She feels shoved straight into what she calls heathen pandemony, and she realizes her entire understanding of civilization, hygiene, comfort, none of it transfers. The failure starts basically the moment they unpack.
Yeah, the failure begins immediately.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how quickly that uncompromising environment, just the sheer logistics of survival, expose the father's ideological rigidity and the mother's practical fear for her kids.
Oh, the fear is palpable. And the simplest tasks demanded just monumental effort.
Monumental is right. The sources detail the impossibility of achieving basic Western standards. Take water, for instance. It wasn't just there. It had to be carried 1.5 miles from the river, then boiled for a solid 20 minutes.
Over a makeshift stove, the kids compare it to a rusted Oldsmobile carcass.
Exactly. Think of the cost, not money, but physical labor, time just to make drinking water safe. It fundamentally changes the mission, doesn't it, from spiritual salvation?
To just basic physical survival.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even common household things become currency. Essentials like bleach, oranges. They can only be got through bartering, or worse.
Begging from that questionable mercenary pilot Axelroot, which forces them into these moral compromises, really just to live day to day.
And compounding all these practical failures is the immediate, irreversible failure of language, that Kikongo word, Bangala.
Oh, yes, such a tragic double meaning. It signifies most precious, most treasured, but also horribly.
Poisonwood.
Poisonwood. The irony is just devastating. The father, Nathan, he's so determined to communicate divine preciousness, right? And he ends this crucial sermon with a triumphant, but totally misguided, shout, Tata Jesus is Bangala.
Thinking he's sharing the most sacred truth.
But he's literally proclaiming to his potential converts that Jesus is poisonwood.
It's not just a funny mistake, is it? It's like the core message of the mission is fundamentally corrupted by the land itself.
Exactly. And his attempts at literal cultivation, the garden, mirrored this ideological failure completely. He tried to impose an American garden, Kentucky wonder beans, squash, even Halloween pumpkins. Total failure. The realization he comes to is profound. He sees that the African bugs were, quote, fashioned by God for the purpose of serving African plants. They just wouldn't pollinate his American crops.
So it's not just bad luck. It's like an ecological and theological statement.
Yeah.
His American concept of God's order doesn't apply here. His attempts to impose his culture are just destined to wither.
Precisely. And the symbol of this captivity and failure becomes the parrot, Methuselah.
Ah, Methuselah. Left behind by the previous missionary, right? Tethered to a perch made from a bit of a yardstick.
It's a 17-inch section, yeah. And when the father dramatically frees him, thinking it's this grand gesture...
The bird can't fly.
Can't fly. Wings have no muscle tone. The act of freedom is meaningless if the captive isn't prepared for it, or maybe was never meant for that kind of freedom.
And the cruel final irony, Methuselah is later devoured by a predator. Only red and gray feathers left.
It's such a stark foreshadowing, isn't it, for the fate of the whole Price family mission, a symbol of lost innocence, imposed dependency, ultimately consumed.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where we really pivot, I think. From the family's internal struggles to the massive external storm brewing around them, their sort of self-contained, insulated missionary bubble bursts completely when they're forced to confront the socio-political reality.
The reality of the Congo's colonial history and that chaotic road to independence.
Exactly. And the source is very clear about the structural limitations the Belgians imposed.
Oh, yes. Explicitly stating that Belgians did not allow higher education. Schooling stopped around age 12. It was a deliberate policy to keep the population dependent, basically.
Which makes fighters like Anatole, the schoolteacher who spoke French, English, and Kikongo, such rare and crucial exceptions.
Absolutely. And this context is vital for understanding the fervor around the Congo's independence in 1960. The shift is framed as sudden, almost accidental, really.
Yeah, we learned the King of Belgium hastily invited 80 Congolese leaders to Brussels to chart a course after violent riots broke out. This wasn't some slow, managed transition.
No, it was a rush job, created a huge power vacuum, and into that steps Patrice Lumumba.
Described in the sources as a thin, distinguished man. Real eyeglasses, pointed beard.
Right. And when he spoke at the inauguration, promising they'd show the world what the homme noir, the black man, could do, making the Congo the heart of light.
The energy apparently made the crowd want to believe in every word.
You feel that potential. But immediately, the narrative introduces the crushing weight of foreign intervention. It just dampens that promise of light almost instantly.
It is journal notes. They hint strongly at CIA involvement, don't they? Claiming the King of America, Eisenhower.
Yeah, sent direct orders to kill Lumumba. Whether that's literal truth or her interpretation, it reflects the perceived reality.
And this political intrigue is sort of personified by that morally compromised pilot Ibn Axelrod.
He's more than just a shady contact. He's presented as an active criminal element, smuggling diamonds, which Ruth may accidentally sees him doing.
And he physically threatens her, a young girl, to keep quiet.
It's brutal. The sources directly tie him to these darker political machinations, suggesting he's taking orders, possibly CIA-linked, to ensure Lumumba is as good as dead.
And while all this massive geopolitics is escalating, there's local resistance crystallizing right there in Kalanga, Chief Tata Ndu.
And we should be clear, as the sources, he's the village chief, not the witch doctor. That's Tata Kuvadundu.
Right, good distinction. So Tata Ndu is actively resisting the mission, his main concern. People going to church were neglecting their duties to local ancestors, traditional gods.
And his opposition is clever, powerful. He uses the tools of democracy, ironically, against the mission's claims. He insists on holding a village election.
Using clay bowls for voting.
Right after one of Nathan Price's sermons. He demands the villagers choose definitively, between the new church and their traditional life, forcing the issue of divided loyalty right out into the open.
It's quite a confrontation.
So if we connect all this chaos now to the sisters' final trajectory, their later lives, you really see them becoming this extended commentary on the political violence, the cultural loss they witnessed.
Their final devastating exit from Kalanga.
Yeah.
It's spurred by two major events, isn't it?
Yes. First, that terrifying natural force, the swarm of aggressive, stinging Songonia ants.
The description is visceral. The mother's terror is just. It's palpable. It reflects how Africa can turn hostile without any warning.
And the urgency is driven home by that image of Mama Lalaba wading neck-deep into the Kwilu River, which is known for crocodiles.
Choosing the risk of crocodile death over the agonizing certainty of being eaten alive by ants.
It's horrific. And then, of course, the ultimate unbearable price is paid. The death of the youngest sister, Ruth May.
From a snake bite.
But it wasn't accidental. The sources confirm the snake, a deadly mamba, was planted in the chicken house by the other Tata.
Tata Kuvadundu, the witch doctor.
Yes. As direct retribution for the father's arrogance and refusal to respect local ways.
That distinction between Tata Ndu, the chief, and Tata Kuvadundu, the witch doctor, is critical there, isn't it? It shows these two forms of resistance. One political, one spiritual or magical.
Exactly. And the clue to the murder? Those white, perfectly round buttons seen behind the bed.
Which weren't buttons at all.
No. They were the diamond-shaped scales shed by the hidden mamba. Chilling detail.
And before her death, Ruth May had this recurring belief, this obsession, that she would disappear for a second and then come back as a green tree in a safe place.
That desire for camouflage, for escape, it profoundly defines the very disparate paths the three surviving sisters take into adulthood, doesn't it?
It really does. Take Rachel. She focuses entirely on material survival, superficial preservation, ends up running a luxury hotel restaurant in South Africa, the Equatorial.
Maintaining this carefully constructed white facade, even calling herself Rachel Axelroot sometimes, keeping, as the source says, a close eye on the help.
Her lesson learned seems to be that wealth and appearance are the only armor that actually matters.
A harsh lesson. Then there's Ada, the silent twin, who eventually finds her voice literally and figuratively.
She channels her experience into science, medicine, becomes obsessed with symmetry, balance, a need for order after all that chaos.
Describes herself as a perfect palindrome. And she carries that clear-eyed, critical perspective of the Congo's political reality, explicitly reflecting on American complicity in killing that tall, thin man in the Congo.
No escaping the history for her.
Yeah.
And finally, Leah.
Leah marries Anatole, the intellectual teacher. She commits her entire life to Africa, adopts his causes, becomes, in her own words, an unmissionary in Angola.
Her recurring malarial fever dreams.
Yeah.
They were trying to cross the river, move a crumbling mountain. Powerful symbols of the trauma, right?
Yeah.
And the maybe impossibility of the humanitarian burden she takes on.
Absolutely. The weight of it all.
So what does this all mean when we try to synthesize the whole journey? I mean, the sources provide just a harrowing look at how every single act, even those driven by what seemed like pure faith or good intentions,
has unforeseen, often poisonous consequences. The garden was literally poisoned by the soil. The message became poisonwood. The entire mission felt doomed from the very start.
Yeah.
And the core question the source material ultimately poses to you, the reader, is, given this history, the complicity, the failures, the bloodshed, how do we aim to live with it?
It really forces that question.
It details the heavy burden of stolen goods, cotton or diamonds, freedom at the very least, as it says, and the essential painful necessity for each survivor, and maybe for us looking back, to invent their own version of the story to make sense of it.
The sources remind us quite starkly that the massive Congo River drowned most of its conquerors outright, and that in Africa, scars eventually become ornaments of a particular face. They become part of the identity.
So if we accept that idea from the text, that Africa swallowed the conqueror's music and sang a new song of her own,
what happens to the original song, the poisoned one? Is there any truth left to the idea of redemption in such a thoroughly compromised history?
That's the lingering question, isn't it? Something for you to mull over, perhaps explore on your own.